Welcome to Wednesday on the Couch with Willie and Andrew. How awesome is that? But before we get deep into the conversation, let me introduce you to Pastor Andrew. Pastor Andrew is our newest youth and children's specialist, or what would you call yourself?
Youth and children's team member.
Team member, yes.
Yeah.
So-
Although the way you described us at church at Livingston on the weekend, partners in crime.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
So we just want to welcome Pastor Andrew onto the team. Most of you who don't know Pastor Andrew, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm married, have been just celebrating my 25th wedding anniversary, which is awesome. I got a 15-year-old daughter at Carmel in grade 11. That's really cool. Got a little puppy dog, which I like a whole lot.
Yeah.
I'm a morning person.
You're a morning person.
5:30 in the morning, just about every week, every day, up walking the dog. I know I'm crazy, but I just love it. Always have been.
That's awesome.
So
you've just been married 25 years. I'm 25. Look at this. This is really good.
that works well.
So welcome to the team. There is a bigger team. We call ourselves the discipleship team, but children and youth ministry is just part of that team. Okay, the bigger team that we have. But today we're on the couch and we're going to answer some questions from Monday. Okay,
From
and
the Meaningful Minute.
the topic on Monday was habits from the Meaningful Minute. That's right. Thank you for clarifying that. Meaningful Minutes on Monday was on habits. So, Andrew, I reckon we can answer these questions very quickly.
We can try.
Yeah?
Yeah, sure.
You-
What was the first
you
one?
ready?
Yeah.
Alright, the first one was, is it possible to start up, continue a habit that you recently stopped? Ooh, man. Is good.
Short version, I reckon, yeah. I reckon it is.
Yeah?
Well, like if you stop drinking coffee,
Yeah.
that's an easy one because all you need to do is to have one cup of coffee, and you're going to fall back into the habit.
Yeah.
Not so easy if it's a habit that's not like an addictive kind of one.
Yeah.
Because coffee's got a little bit of an addictive thing to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I reckon if it used to be a habit, then it was ingrained in your being. One of the teachers at a school where I'm chaplain this week, she said she can't get out of the habit. She has to go to the gym 5 days a week.
Wow.
If one day she doesn't go, she feels like her world has fallen apart because it's just that much ingrained. So if it was a habit and you've stopped, I think relatively easy to start again.
I think going to the gym might be a habit that you and I need to get into. Eh?
Most
Just look at
definitely.
these. Oh, mate.
I'm not worried about this. I'm worried about this.
Oh, fair enough.
But that's okay.
And also, they say that it takes about 21 days to develop a habit that sticks.
Yeah.
But then I've also read that it takes a little bit longer than 21 days to get rid of a habit. So, yeah, I think it might be easier to actually not reinvent, but to do that habit again, to start it up again. If that makes sense?
Yeah, to restart.
Restart the habit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
I reckon that's true for sure.
All right. Hopefully we'll answer that question. I think we have.
Yeah.
The other question is, any ideas on how to stop a habit?
The easy answer that's useless to everyone is just stop. But it's useless because if it's a habit, it's something that you're so used to doing. So my idea is to actually, if depending on what the habit is, to make small changes to it over a little bit of time. Like, don't give yourself 10 years to do that.
Yeah.
But give yourself like 2 or 3 weeks and make slight changes in the behaviour.
Yeah.
Just a little bit by little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like the cup of coffee example.
Yeah.
And I know you're not going to like it if your habit is coffee, but then you slowly, maybe every other cup is like a decaf one.
Yeah.
It's going to put you off a little bit for the taste, but yeah, just
Decaf
a little.
is great. I drink decaf.
Yeah, little changes, like a small change to the habit, and then you get used to that for a couple of days or for a week, depending on what it is. So yeah, change it a little bit to stop cold turkey on any habit. It's really hard.
Yeah. And there's 3 elements to developing a habit or the habit loop. There's a cue, there's a routine, and then there's a reward. So perhaps what you could do to stop a habit is actually change your routine. So, for example, if as Andrew was saying, that if your habit is drinking coffee at a certain time of day, instead of walking past the kettle with the coffee next to it, is change how you actually walk, change your routine, if that makes sense. Like instead of walking past the table with the coffee mug and the kettle, walk around it. You know, it'll take a little while for you to, but when we get used to it, it actually helps to stop the habit. Like, okay, I'm not seeing it, so no trigger. So yeah, it doesn't. It really helps change your focus.
I feel like we're picking on the cup of coffee too much.
Yeah.
The same kind of habit. If it's too much like Netflix, then when you're finished with it, the small habit, put the remote somewhere else. Put it a different place every time. So that next time you automatically go, because otherwise you just go to the couch, there's the remote, there I go. If all of a sudden you have to actually, you go, where did I stuck it in the drawer in the kitchen. Or you do something slightly different, you put it out of sight, you've got to go out of your routine to make sure that you're enforcing your habit. So if you go, oh, I couldn't be bothered going over there to get that. Actually shift it around.
Yeah, that's a good idea actually. Yeah. So you ever asked this question? That was a good idea. Well, you did ask for an idea, so I think that was a good idea. How to stop bad habits and replace them with better ones. Ooh, okay.
I reckon that's something that you almost do at the same time. Like the idea I have with changing just little changes, if there's a habit that you're wanting to change into another one, you're wanting to morph it, you make slightly different changes so that you're doing the both things at the same time. You're trying to stop the habit and you're trying to start a new one. You're kind of just changing it into another mode.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that didn't come out right, but I hope you know what I mean.
Yeah. I had a habit of when I first came out of uni, I went to this remote location, and I had a habit of whenever I was stressed, I drank a lot of soft drinks. That was my go-to, and that became a habit, and it was a habit that I wanted to stop. So I learned that one of the ways, if you want to stop a habit, actually try and limit or eliminate, I suppose, stress. Because when stress builds up, we tend to go back to something that really gives us comfort to get over that stress, if that makes sense. So I had to learn that drinking a lot of soft drinks was not good for me. In fact, I'm ashamed to say this, but I will say it for the sake of who's asking this question, and I hope you don't take after my habit, was that I actually developed gout from drinking a lot of soft drinks. So much. And then I'm like, man, that's a bad habit. So I had to limit my stress. I had to look at ways that I can actually just work on having less stress, relax a little bit, enjoy life a little bit.
The soft drink one, I went down the same path. I didn't quite go as far as gout, but it's one of those addictive things. And it's when something stressful would happen, my car would automatically drive towards the supermarket because I'm like, oh, the stress, I need the drink. And I didn't need the drink. Clearly I had too many of them. I've stopped that habit for a while, but it's an easy one to fall into. And I realised that the trigger, like you said, the cue to a habit, I would get the stress, I would just reach for the drink, and that was how it went. You have to try and somehow replace that with something else that you can physically do, maybe.
And that was really cool that you brought up that, because that was going to be the next point that I was going to talk about, knowing your cues and actually help you get rid of routine, if that makes sense. The other one was replace bad habits with better ones. Like, think of something like that soft drink was my big habit, and it was really, really bad. So instead of that, I actually went for a walk. So replace that bad habit that you've always wanted to get rid of with something better that will help you, benefit you. The other one was have a good reason for quitting that bad habit. And my reason for quitting my bad habit was actually gout. That was a very good reason. So look for a good reason why you want to get rid of that habit or quit that habit. And then lastly was set better goals for yourself. I mean, we've talked about going to the gym because, this is getting a little bit big for us. So
It's
we're going to
true.
set goals.
I wish it wasn't true.
You got to set better goals for yourself.
Yeah, you're
All
right.
right. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Any other thoughts?
Something was in my mind a moment ago. One of my reasons for stopping the soft drink one was I realised that if I would go for 24 hours without soft drink, I'd have headaches, and I realised I was addicted to it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, this is not healthy. So for a while, I would then make sure that I didn't go that long, and I would have some sort of soft drink.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, this is not healthy. Because you'd go a few days and there would just be headaches and headaches. So I'm like, the bad effect, it wasn't gout for me, it was headaches. And I'm like, no, I've got to stop this. So now I've connected the habit of getting up early and walking the dog, but before I even go reach for the dog chain, I make sure 2 glasses of water.
Yeah, that's a very good habit.
That's the habit I've got into in the mornings.
Yeah.
I need to keep the water going through the day, but
Yeah.
it starts well, and hopefully that carries on.
That's a very good habit. If you don't drink water, get onto it, because water saves lives.
It does. It does.
We've got
It
one
does.
more question. Is that cool? Okay, and this question is came from a friend of mine, and it says, what habits or rhythms do you have with family that feel natural but intentional?
Natural but intentional. Habits that feel natural are really hard to come by. With my family, so my wife and my daughter, we're in a bit of a routine, and it took us ages to get into it, of reading like a devotional book while we had our breakfast in the morning. And there was a book that we had, and we'd read just one page every day. We got out of sync with it was supposed to be on each calendar day, but we were months out. But it was a good book, so we just went through it when we remembered, and most of the time we remembered. And then that book ran out, and we reached for a new book. And after about the third one, we're like, what is this language? It was just awful. It was a good idea and a good habit, but the new book we found was horrible. So we had to change it. We're like, we can't do this for a whole year. This is going to kill us.
Yeah.
So we ended up actually shifting to watching, it's something called The Lineage Journey. Google it. It's actually really cool. 5 minutes, I think, is the longest video, and some of them are about 2.5 or 3 minutes. When we get our breakfast in the morning, we go straight down and we watch one of those, and it's taken us a little while to get into the habit of that. But the habit that we were in as a family was good, and then all of a sudden it went bad, and we're like, we need to do something about this. Fortunately, my wife found this lineage journey. Really cool history, church history stuff.
Yeah.
That's probably my geek thing. I really like that, but that's okay. Really cool, worth watching.
Yeah, cool.
Very intentional. It took a while to get into that. Yeah. What about your family? Because your kids are different ages than mine.
Yeah,
You got a couple of kids.
I've got a couple of kids now. I've got a 5-year-old and a 11-month-old. And there's a couple of habits that we perhaps didn't think through it at the start. We didn't even think we're going to, keep this as a habit, but it's just happened to be a habit, and I reckon it's really cool. So when my first daughter was born, we used to pray. We prayed a lot. There was a special chair that was in her room. It was a rocking chair, and I'll go in there and we'll pray over her and our families. That became our family altar. So now as she's growing up, she just prays all the time. She's learned how to pray in 2 different languages.
Awesome.
But also now, she's actually praying for her little sister. So when it's time for us to come and pray before Cora goes to bed, Haven's actually saying, yeah, I'm going to pray. And so we didn't think about it. We just wanted to pray for her and know that, God's looking after her. But now it's becoming a habit that it's being passed on to her, and now she's passing on to her little sister. And that's something that we want to develop in our kids, know that, hey, you can pass on what you learn. And the other habit is we always talk about being kind and giving in our family. So whatever we have, God has given it to us for a reason. And if we're there and we can serve someone, then we will. And that's a habit that we want to instill in our kids. Those are 2 little habits that we have in our family that are intentional.
Cool. I've got one more. I'm only going to share half of it because I don't want to embarrass my family, but it's something that I started doing on purpose. I refer to both my wife and my daughter with an affectionate name. And and they're different names, so if I use one word, they know exactly which one I'm talking about. But I won't embarrass them with doing that. Janessa would not be happy with me, so I won't. But I just, every morning, I will always greet her with good morning and this name. It's just always the same. So any time during the day, or if I'm sending a message, I will use that name for her, and she knows. It's nothing embarrassing really, but I won't do it to her. So but a different one for my wife and for my daughter. And it's just a nice thing that we do. And I have told her when she was younger, and she goes, "Oh, do you need to keep calling me that?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do." And I said, as long as I'm alive, I'll be keeping on to calling you that.
That's right.
And I don't think she minds so much now. But yeah, when it comes and goes. But yeah, it's just an affectionate thing in the family that wasn't my intention, so that they know, and it's a nice term for both of them, so it's really cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, those are all the questions that we have from our Meaningful Minute on Monday. Our topic was habit. But next week, Pastor Andrew will be sharing our Meaningful Minute.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions, don't be afraid to send it through. Chloe and Natalie are also part of our team.
Yeah.
They are very diligent in passing your stuff through, so they will be sharing it with us. And next week, we'll be back on the couch. Probably a different person because...
Yeah, I'm going to be missing for next week, but after that I might be back.
Yep.
Yeah.
He is travelling for work, and then next week we might invite another guest to come through. But thank you so much for your time, and thank you for asking the questions. Any final words in terms of habits?
When we think of habits, automatically my brain goes to bad habits. But the intentional good habits that we form are awesome. And I actually heard you speak at Livingston Church a little bit about habits, and your meaningful minute, like 40 or 45%, I think you said.
Yep.
They're not actually choices, because we make the choice way back, and then the habit continues. So if we make some choices now and form them into habits, we don't even have to think about it. We make the good habit, and it can continue in our life. That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to finish off with a quote from one of my favourite podcaster, Greg Rochelle. He says that successful people do consistently what others do occasionally. So our habits are really important. Like, imagine for a second if you just had this habit of standing up for Jesus and knowing that any temptation that comes is a no, and you say that automatically, no. That's awesome. Okay, enjoy your day today and the rest of your week, and God bless.
And nice to meet you. See you later.